Today, we're going to learn about apples. By the end of this lesson, you're going to know the most common types of apples, the 5 most common types to be specific, some interesting facts about each apple, and why apples are a good choice for a daily snack. So first, we're going to discuss the 5 most popular types of apples in America. The first apple we're going to talk about is the McIntosh apple. McIntosh apples are arguably one of the most common types of apples in America, and it's actually the national apple of Canada, which is one interesting fact about this apple in specific. This apple comes in both red and green, but it's usually red. It also looks very similar to 2 other apples I'm going to be talking about later in the lesson, which gets sort of confusing. It has a tart flavor, and it usually ripens in late September. Another very common apple is called the Red Delicious. Many people argue that Red Delicious apples are the most common in America because you can find them at basically any grocery store. This apple is known to be much sweeter than most. An interesting fact about this apple is it's been eaten since 1880. It's easier to distinguish because it has a much deeper red color and it's significantly sweeter than all other apples. The next apple I will talk about is the Fuji apple. This apple only comes in red, but it's not nearly as red as the Red Delicious. It's also not as sweet. One interesting fact about this apple is that it's actually a hybrid, which means it was not grown naturally, but it was genetically formed by humans to gather a specific taste. The next apple has kind of a silly name. It's called the Granny Smith apple. Granny Smith apples are the first apple I'm talking about that's only ever green. There are no red Granny Smith apples. Granny Smiths are known for their sour taste and their distinctly green color. One interesting fact about Granny Smith apples is actually where they got their name. These apples are named after Maria Ann Smith, who propagated this type of apple from a chance seed, which means she transferred the seed from one place to another, not knowing if anything would become of it, and the Granny Smith apple grew. The next and final apple I will be talking about is the Honeycrisp apple. Honeycrisps are not as red as other apples, especially the Red Delicious, but they are considered a red apple still. These apples tend to be more sweet than sour, but are still not as sweet as others. An interesting fact about Honeycrisp apples is that they originated in Minnesota. Apples are extremely beneficial to every human. They provide us with lots of nutrients that are not only necessary for life, but also very beneficial to have in excess, which means if you have extra of these vitamins, they'll only help you, never hurt. Apples provide us with fiber, vitamin C and B, and many other antioxidants. Having all of these in your body lowers your risks for developing things like cancer, hypertension, diabetes, and heart disease. Apples provide many other vitamins and minerals, but the ones talked about in this lesson are some of the most common, so I decided to focus on those. At the end of the day, you should always remember the phrase, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It may seem very cliche, but it actually is relatively true, because an apple provides you with a lot of vitamins that will only ever help you. So, even though you hear it a lot, you truly should stick to the phrase, an apple a day keeps the doctor away.